You are 7 years old, and the tunnel is 60 centimeters high. You are down here because you are the only one who fits. The men are too big, so they sent you, with a stub of fat for light and a basket on a rope, into a crack in the earth that goes back further than the light can reach. Above your spine, there is rock that has already come down on 2 other children this season. You can hear it settle. You can feel the air go thin and sour the deeper you crawl, until your own lamp starts to die. And when the lamp dies, you have to keep digging in the dark, by feel, because the basket has to come up full, or there was no point in sending you down. Nobody is coming to get you. That is not cruelty. That is the arrangement. Out here, childhood was not a thing that was protected. Childhood was the first thing a tribe spent. This is the work ancient children did to keep everyone else alive, and by the end, you will understand why it had to be them. Here is the thing nobody tells you about the deep past. A child was not too young to work. A child was too small to refuse. Small hands fit where grown hands can't. Light bodies climb what heavy ones can't. A small person eats less and is easier to replace. In a world with no surplus and no mercy, that math is the whole story. The most dangerous jobs didn't go to the strongest. They went to the smallest, because the smallest were the only ones who could do them at all. Start underground, where the worst of it happened. Long before the first city, people were already digging deep mines to pull the good stone out of the ground. At places like Spiennes in what is now Belgium and Grimes Graves in Britain, people sank shafts straight down through chalk, then branched off sideways into low galleries that ran out into the black. They dug it all with picks cut from deer antler by the light of a burning lump of animal fat. And here's the receipt, the part you can still go and measure today. Some of those side galleries are too narrow for a grown adult to fit through. They were not dug that small by accident. They were dug that small because the people sent down them were small. Children crawled out to the working face on their stomachs and scraped stone into baskets that other children hauled back up the shaft. Later, the Greeks would do the same thing on a far bigger scale at the silver mines of Laurion, near Athens. Galleries barely a meter high, no air, no light, but what you carried, the constant chance of the roof coming down, and the bodies sent into them were the smallest and the cheapest the city had. A cave-in did not make a sound you could run from. The bad air did not warn you. You simply got tired, and then more tired, and the basket stopped coming up. Now go the other direction, not down into the rock, down into the cold water. For as long as people have lived by the sea, they have needed what's under it: shellfish, sponges, pearls, the food and the trade goods that don't grow on the shore. And the best divers were not the strongest men. They were children. A child is light, a child sinks slow and uses little air, and a child can be sent down again and again on a single rope. So the children went down, on one breath, into water cold enough to stop a grown man's chest, deep enough that the pressure pushes on your ears until something gives. And this is the part written into the bones. When you spend your life diving into cold water, your body fights back. The bone inside your ear canal slowly grows over, trying to seal it shut. We find that exact growth in ancient skulls from coastal peoples all over the world. Ear canals, half closed with bone. It is the fingerprint of a childhood spent under the surface. The ones with the worst of it were the ones sent down youngest. Burst an eardrum down there and the world spins and you don't know which way is up. Stay a few seconds too long reaching for one more shell and you breathe in. The sea does not give that back. Not every deadly job was hidden in a mine or under the water. Some of it happened in the open, in plain daylight, and that is its own kind of horror. Across almost every ancient society we know of, the animals were minded by children. As soon as you could walk a hillside, you were handed the flock and sent out, sometimes for a single day, sometimes for weeks, alone, miles from anyone who loved you. It freed every adult to do heavier work. It cost the tribe nothing, and it put the youngest, weakest person in the group out at the edge of the wild, by themselves, as the thing standing between the wolves and the family's entire food supply. Now, here we have to be honest with you, the way the evidence is honest. There is no chronicle for the child who went up the hill with the goats and did not come back down. No one wrote that boy's name. What we have is the pattern, the same arrangement, on every continent, in every era. The small ones sent out alone with the animals, where the cold, the cliffs, and the predators were. You were not out there because you were brave. You were out there because you were expendable, and the goats were not. And then there are the children we can name. Because eventually, people started writing this down. By Roman times, a child was put to a trade almost as soon as they were useful, set to the loom, the furnace, the workshop, the kiln. We know because the Romans carved it onto their tombstones. They recorded the dead child's job and the dead child's age in stone. And when you read enough of them, the same quiet horror keeps repeating: a trade, and an age that should never sit next to it, a worker, dead before 12. These were not the unlucky few. This was the normal shape of a life. You did not get a childhood and then a job. The job was the childhood. You learned the furnace by standing at the furnace. You learned the loom by being chained to it for the hours your small fingers were worth, and you either grew old enough to survive it or you became one more short line carved into stone. The reason we have those stones at all is that someone loved that child enough to mark them. That is the only reason we know their name. For every name in stone, there are thousands who went into the mine, the water, and the hills and left nothing behind but a gallery too small for a man and a skull with its ears grown shut. So here's what you have to sit with. You want to believe you would never have allowed it, that you would have kept your child by the fire, safe, and sent yourself down the shaft instead. But you couldn't have. You wouldn't have fit. That was the entire point. The work existed because only a child's body could do it, and the family that refused to send the child was the family that starved or froze or was overrun. So you would have stood at the mouth of the mine or the edge of the water or the bottom of the hill, and you would have watched your own small one go where you could not follow, and you would have told yourself the same thing every parent before you told themselves: better this risk than certain death for all of us. You would have sent them, because the alternative was burying everyone, and some part of that is still in you. The way a child fears the dark and a tight space and being left alone where it's cold. The way that fear arrives faster than thought, long before anything has actually gone wrong. That is not weakness, and it is not random. That is the memory of a time when the dark, the depths, and the empty hillside really did take the small ones, again and again, for thousands of years. Your body learned that fear down a 60-centimeter tunnel. It has never forgotten. And if you had lived back then, you would have done the same.